I wonder how many of those that they made. The Hy-Vee Mahomes Magic Crunch.
They have more. They're in complete stock right now. You can go buy some. You know what I'm saying?
You gonna open them up and eat them?
No, I've already froze that for 3 days because allegedly there's a bacteria that will eat the cereal from the inside if you don't freeze it. So
Do you have to keep it frozen though?
for 3 days, and then that will kill all the bacteria that is inside the cereal that will eat itself. I don't know. That's just what
That's
I did.
crazy.
So I'll never open that box of Mahomes Magic.
Nice. One day that'll be worth like $23.
Well, yeah, one day.
Congratulations, Paul.
Oh, dude, I'm all about
Just
it.
likes looking at it, man.
Yeah.
It's from the early days of Mahomes, man. Whenever he goes to the Hall of Fame, and you got that box of
The
cereal.
Mahomes Magic Crunch.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some crazy YouTuber that eats some of that cereal the day he goes into the Hall of Fame
Yeah, that will probably be me.
and will die because of the bacteria.
The bacteria.
Because they
They will
didn't
now eat-
because they didn't freeze the box.
Yeah.
We'll now eat Paul from the inside out.
Yeah. Well, what's going on, man? Welcome. Sorry, I shouldn't have let it off like that. No, give me 1 sec.
Man, we lost the groove.
Yeah.
It's only been a week.
One
I
week.
know.
1 week off.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, where we are in my basement. Did a little remodel, shit like that. But what's going on, Jesse and Johnny?
Not much, man.
Just got back from Colorado, not too
Utah.
long ago. In Utah, did a little traveling.
That's
was
why
nice.
we were. I mean, obviously, you know this already, Paul, but that's why we were gone a week. Missed a week of Talk Junkies.
It's very true, and it is what it is. I didn't do a video to explain to people why we didn't do video last week. I had one person ask, which was my cousin Bobby. Sorry, Bob, that we didn't have your weekly dose of Talk Junkies, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I was in Colorado and Utah though, having a blast. So
And we didn't have service on Sunday at all. There was no way because we were literally sleeping in a canyon-like area, and the service was just non-existent for the first half of our trip, for the first 4 days. So I couldn't even come in and Skype and do a podcast. Like it wasn't going to happen.
So,
Mother
Johnny,
Nature wouldn't allow it.
Johnny, for someone like you, because Jesse's experienced this before, but what does it mean to go out there to Utah, and how? I mean, is it important for a human being to experience something like that?
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be Utah. I feel like it's important to get away from life for a little bit though, honestly. Like this is coming from someone who has like never really taken vacations. Like when I was a kid, we would take, and I'm talking super kid. I'm not talking like 12 or 13. I'm talking like 5 and 6 years old that I barely even remember. We'd go to SeaWorld and all that shit and whatnot, but it didn't mean anything at that time. That was just, par for the course. But as like an adult, no, I haven't taken a vacation in years upon years. So it means a lot just to get away. As far as like Canyonlands and Arches National Park and Moab, Utah and all that stuff, something I've never really seen before other than pictures, which pictures do not do it justice. Like, you guys know that, but I took pictures and looked at them afterwards, and I'm like, man, this is nowhere near the same as actually standing there and seeing it. It's so hard to describe to someone who hasn't seen it in person kind of thing. But it was super dope. I loved every second of it. I think it is really important to get out there and just experience something different that's not in your state. Like I said, it was a big deal for me because I never go on vacation. And I was surprised, like I told Jesse already. I love the hiking aspect, which caught me off guard because I'm very much a indoors kind of person. I like video games and computers and shit like that and so on and so forth. So I was like, I've been camping before, but I mean, hiking, that sounds kind of lame, blah, blah, blah. Fucking loved it.
That's what it's about, man. I mean, it turns you into something. It brings something out of you that you never knew was there.
That's what I was going to say. It truly did. I felt like not a different person, but just slightly a different person where I'm like, man, I just want to climb everything. Like, I just want to climb everything in sight while I was out there. And I'm like, I want to go back. Like, I want to go on more hiking things. I want to go to Tennessee and do some hiking out there. Like, and I've never thought I would be someone who would like hiking. To me, that always sounded like super lame.
How about you, Jesse? How was it for the second time?
For the second time, it was a lot of like past memories came back, and I was able to not completely overcome a lot of fears that I have out there. But there is definite fear for me out there because I have an issue with heights. And on a lot of the hikes that we went on, it's not just staircases with railing. Like, you were literally climbing up it, like like heights, it's not dangerous by any means, but if you have an issue with heights to where you feel uncomfortable with it, and wind coming through very suddenly, and you know that you're literally 4 feet from death on any side, like that's my mentality. Like, and I honestly, like, I love that sense of adventure too, that adrenaline. I knew what I was getting into this time, so maybe it was better the first time, even though it was less fear. But I remember being super fearful the first time coming up around the bend to Delicate Arch, where you end up, you walk around the side of the cliff or whatever, and you only have like 4 foot, little path to walk, and then 4 feet this way is like death, and it's not just perfectly flat, like it's actual like more difficult terrain, kind of like rock getting up there and all that. But it's, it was different this time, but still very, very enjoyable. I just wish I wouldn't be a little bitch up there, man. I wish I didn't have the fucking fear of heights. Like, you remember Sean Schultz was just able to bounce around and do whatever, and in what I saw as being inches away from death multiple times on that trip. Like, but no, it's always great to get out there, especially whenever you live in a suburban area, and Missouri is very non-viewy, and there's no heights here at all. Really, to go to the drastic opposite of it is, man, it's a great experience for sure.
Yeah, and with the way that travel is these days, like it's extremely easy for people to travel and do things like that as opposed to a very long time ago. And I think everyone should take the opportunity to take some sort of trip like that where they experience nature for what its true beauty is.
That's the craziest part about it to me, and this is what always kept me from doing it in the past, is because I don't like spending money. I mean, I'll spend money, but I don't like spending a lot of money on anything, really, if I don't have to, kind of deal.
But people go out and buy $1,000 TV when...
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I didn't realize how... I spent... and this is... By the way, this was overspending. I did not plan on spending this much. I spent more because the last night we were out there, we went to this... I'm not going to get into it on camera, but we went to this crazy, crazy bar that was just absolutely nuts and spent way too much money. But for that entire 6-day trip, I spent gas, food, everything included, even buying like a sleeping bag and stuff I included in this. I spent $500, like $480.
That's like a round trip plane ticket to some places for like
but
a
this
whole
was
week.
everything. This was food, lodging, like which lodging was camping. But I mean, the point is, I spent $480, and that was to like get a backpack and a sleeping bag and all that. Like,
so what was the most interesting part about Colorado? Because I know you guys spent some time there, and obviously they have lenient. Well, they allow you to smoke marijuana or ingest it.
It's like alcohol. No, I would have to say the weed experience that I had out there. It was the first time me ever going to a dispensary, and it's not what I expected either. My initial thought was I'm going to be able to walk into a building, and there's going to be all this fucking weed, and I'm going to be able to walk around, talk to somebody, pick out what the fuck I wanted, and then they obviously check my ID at the end of it, and then buy my shit and I go on my way. That's actually not the case in Denver at all. You can't see any of the product at all right when you walk in. They took our IDs from us. We had to wait in the lobby because there can only be so many people in the dispensary buying shit at once. It's very limited. It's super controlled.
it seemed like they can only have one employee for like every 3 people.
Yeah, it's way more controlled than just like going into a liquor store when you could have like 50 people in a liquor store, before a New Year's Eve fucking party, and everybody's like waiting in line. It's super restricted whenever it comes to that. So you hand somebody your ID. You go and you wait in the lobby, and you have a party of people. So there's 3 in your party, and then you go in, and then somebody would immediately start talking to you, basically, and then and then you'd look around at their product and everything, the edibles, the shatter, all these different strands of marijuana, all laid out in detail. How it's grown, what it's crossed with. Super. I mean, just having that amount of information laid out. And then for me, it was like huge. It's not like just going to a drug dealer and you don't know what the fuck you're getting. Like, you know exactly what the fuck you're getting with this one. Like, just knowing like there are CBD to THC ratios that I did not even know was a thing. At the fact that CBD and THC actually coexist very well together, and you need a balance of the two. Like, so typically what gets shipped out, like black market, is just super high THC weed, because that's the shit that gets you the most psychedelic, like the most fucked up style.
Fuck.
Yeah, like the storm fuck, the shit that just fucks you up. Well, out there, they have all this balance to where you can get even higher CBD level than THC for just like daily use, to where there's no euphoria whatsoever, and it just calms and relaxes you, but you don't have any of the psychedelic effects, which I didn't buy out there because I was strictly just trying to get fucked up.
Yeah.
I would love to go back. If I had more time, I would have tried maybe some of the daily stuff.
If I lived out there, I'd try the stuff that
for
you could.
anxiety, for that supposedly helps depression and all this very accessible medicine which I can't say because I didn't try it, but it's all readily available, like perfectly, it really is medicine out there. Like, yeah, you can use it to get fucked up, but I think the general basis of it is for people who have issues and don't want pharmaceutical, Xanax or whatever, can go and get an 18-to-1 CBD to THC ratio that really calms them down, and they just, it helps relax them, and they don't need that with the drug with all the bullshit side effects, because I know there's no side effects from THC or CBD. I know that for a fact because I've done it so much in my life. I've never woken up the next day with jitters or feeling. I just feel okay after smoking weed. I think it's extremely beneficial in the end. But that had to be the best experience, was experiencing a state that has completely legalized it. It wasn't the experience I thought it was going and buying it. It still feels like it's more restricted. It's still not like going and buying alcohol per se. There's still some shit there. But no, man, it was fucking amazing. Like, the edibles were fucking amazing. Like, and just knowing the fact that I don't have to be worried about, I'm going to eat this edible, and then not including like driving or anything like that. It's obviously still illegal to drive super stoned, but to be able to eat an edible and then go out with my friends, watch a fucking movie, and then go out to dinner, and then not be worried about smelling like marijuana and being judged, or being, this is super taboo, and then people can call the police on you or whatever because you smell like fucking weed and you get some judgmental motherfucker.
I was gonna say
that happens out here.
That was my big thing. Like,
just the freedom of knowing that it's just like going out and having a fucking drink.
Going into a
fucking
dispensary
amazing.
wasn't that crazy for me. Like, I've never done it before, but it wasn't that crazy. I was like, I get it. It's another store, whatever. Like, legally buying weed for the first time. Whoa. What up, Trey?
That's Trey.
That's Trey.
Trey baby in the house.
Trey went on the trip with us.
Trey's still on the trip, man.
Trey is on the trip right now.
Trey doesn't even know he's back in Kansas City yet.
But no, for me, it was it wasn't so much going in and buying it or anything. It was the fact that, like what you were just saying, out there it's just normal. So there was no, like, I don't really smoke weed. I honestly don't. Like, I used to in high school, maybe once in a while. You know what I mean? But really, when I say once in a while, I mean like once every 6 months kind of thing, twice a year. But out here, if I do that, I'm like, I can't walk into Quick Trip and buy a drink. Like, I'm way too paranoid that, like, people are
like,
judging.
What if a cop's in there? What if a
or
cop's
that
in there
people just
and then the
know
cop
that I'm
smells
high.
some fucking weed on you, and then, that cop's just like one of those hard up fucking cops that's just like, man, I'm going to bust the fuck out of you right now.
That's how I feel here in
'Cause I know
Missouri.
you're fucking high and he's going to harass you.
But-
That doesn't happen out there.
And that's how it should be. I mean, the way that you described and how controlled it is, and the environment when you walk into a place like that, and the amount of information that you receive on a drug that is so minimal and that we should be able to smoke and enjoy. I mean, it's amazing that you can go in there and learn about it, right? They teach you. We've talked so much in all of our podcasts about legalizing all drugs and letting people experience it for what it is. But for you to go to a state for the first time and learn about marijuana and which one you're going to get and what it's going to do to you, I mean, that's amazing.
No, it was thoroughly amazing. And on the same end, also what I read this article on the way out, like leaving there, about marijuana-related hospital visits in Colorado skyrocketed whenever they legalized marijuana. Well, that's just people being fucking stupid because they think, I can just get as high as fuck. And you still need to take it. You still need to understand it is a psychoactive drug. You can take too much of it.
Yeah.
You can overdo it, and you can have a fucking bad time on that shit. And it probably won't it won't kill you.
You're not going to OD
but
and
you
die.
No, you won't OD and die. But what they're talking about is people who are having super psycho hallucinogenic states because of the high volume of marijuana that they're taking in.
It increases your heart rate immensely too.
Yeah, and
so
you need to understand that it's still something that needs to be, you need to figure out what works best for you. But what's great about it is those dispensaries can help you find that. Help you find the right level of exactly, like, if you're more, paranoid smoker. Well, you need to calm down the THC. You need to up the CBD levels on whatever you're doing, the strand of marijuana, the edibles that you're using, all of this. You're actually able to find the perfect thing. Like, there are people who like to drink but don't do shots. Like, they don't do shots because they're like, man, that shit gets me fucked up. I can't do shots, but I love having a glass of wine. You can find your glass of wine marijuana strain out in fucking Colorado.
You buy little like
That's
2.5
just-
milligram
Yeah,
gummies or
that's-
whatever that are like
that's
18
just
to
right
1
for you.
CBD to THC, and you're good to go.
As opposed to where it's illegal, all you're getting is the super, just one fucking thing, which is the super high level THC strain marijuana, which isn't for fucking everybody. So I'm sure a lot of people got turned off by marijuana for the fact that because of it's a black market, when it might actually be beneficial to them, doing it, with a higher CBD level, like lower THC kind of scenario. Like, there's so much shit. It should just be fucking legalized, but.
Should be.
That was great. Now, one thing I will say, talking to some Uber drivers out there, our last night there going to bars, I was asking them, what's it like, in Colorado since weed became legalized, and they all said the same thing. They did not like it. They did not like that marijuana became legalized because all of a sudden the housing market, like, literally rose like 20% for renters.
Everybody's rent went up.
Now, it's just renters. They're not, and obviously they're Uber drivers. They didn't own their own homes. They were people who rented. It went up 20% because everybody wanted to move out here, and then prices of just housing just went. 20% skyrocketing.
20% is.
I would call 20% like skyrocketing.
It's probably actually over 20%, to be honest.
It's like 20 to
really-
25% was huge. So next thing you know, almost the middle class to poor are being really negatively affecting in a short term. We discussed it
Middle-class
earlier.
Renters. If you own, that's good for you.
No, if you
Yeah.
own, it's fucking great.
Oh yeah.
But if you're renting and if you're just a poor person, family trying to get your shit started out in Colorado, weed becomes legalized, rent gets jacked up, and then your wage hasn't been able to balance yet. It's really difficult for you out there. So there was this negative side to poor people's daily life out there with that process happening, which
Wait.
I think almost in Missouri's case, which we will be one of the last states that probably,
No.
legalize it.
Wages are raising out there too, though. Honestly,
but it takes time to balance out.
It does. It takes time.
It definitely didn't cut up.
It's not.
there's
It's not
this-
instantaneous, but it is still happening. Like, you're talking short term, it's bad, but long term, it levels out fine. I mean, hell, even out in Moab in Utah, fucking, we went into that McDonald's and there was a little sign there that's like, oh, now hiring for McDonald's, $13 an hour.
That's
Like, when I
aggressive.
worked at McDonald's when I was 15, it was like $6.
$5 or $6, yeah.
But the prices out there, and it's a tourist town. It's a tourist town. They probably have
I'm just saying though, that evaluation of like whatever like cost of living compared to expenses or whatnot, but like
but
the
even-
prices were still the same. The prices were still the same in Utah. Like, even though they're getting paid $13 an hour, and they probably have to pay more for their living arrangement, the actual product they're buying, like a bottle of Coke or whatever, those are the same prices that they are here in Kansas City.
I think it more so is just an example of, even though in my opinion, on a moral level and just an overall good for humanity, it is a good thing for marijuana to be legalized. But even in doing so, there are still some negative effects that affect people negatively. There is
Yeah.
no.
Well,
So
there's-
what I want to get
There's gonna be, for sure.
there's always some negative to any positive too, and you need to take that into account with some
Well,
stuff.
and the only reason that there's negativity to this is because we've allowed it to be illegal for such a long time, and now that there's such a high demand for it and people want to do it, why not capitalize on it? If you're Colorado and your whatever state representatives are increasing housing, or
Also, if it's legal everywhere, sorry, Paul.
No, you're good.
If it's, I'm just going off what you're saying. If it's legal everywhere, then prices don't rise everywhere.
Exactly.
Because it evens out.
right.
It's only because it's
It's
so
'cause it's
just
only in Colorado.
Right.
It's just
Well,
California.
there's a few other states, Washington and California, and Missouri medicinally now.
I think it's 13 states right now, right?
However many states, and it's
At least decriminalized it, and technically Missouri has decriminalized it too.
yes, they have.
but not to the point to where it should be.
I don't think the whole medicinal thing is, and this, I don't know, this may just be me being stupid, because I remember reading the medicinal thing. I don't think it's actually in effect yet, though.
It is. It's 100%.
Like, there are medicinal dispensaries in Missouri.
Well,
in one town, and I read about one
Yeah.
town.
Oh,
that
okay.
hasn't.
Okay.
I know a cop, and he said that he had actually went over to someone's house, and he was actually growing weed, and he was completely okay to grow. He had the card and all that shit in Missouri, but he had a firearm. And if you're gonna either smoke weed, if you have a card to smoke weed or you're growing weed, you cannot.
can't,
No,
yeah.
in no way, shape,
because
or
they took
form.
my license. I can't buy a gun in Missouri, which
Yeah.
I couldn't buy a gun in Missouri anyway.
Yeah. So if you
But-
want to smoke weed and get that medicinal card, you just can't own a gun. So
You can own a gun. You
No, you
cannot
can't.
purchase one.
right.
Now, if you can say that you can go and buy alcohol and purchase a gun and drink heavy, I'd much prefer the person that's just too stoned.
Yeah.
Because they won't. They'll be
Right.
so afraid
Nobody
of their
gets
gun.
nobody gets stoned at a party and is like, "Man, Becca's a bitch. I'm gonna shoot her."
But see, that's the thing, though, man. Like that's where they have gotten it. They've gotten it. To
But on
where-
alcohol,
they've gotten it to where, hey, we're going to allow you to smoke weed, but you cannot purchase a firearm now.
man, I rather if
And
you're
that-
buying
that's
copious amounts of
ridiculous, too.
liquor, you shouldn't be able to have a firearm.
Right? That's exactly, 100% on that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed your trip, man. As much needed would be my guess.
It was good. It was healthy. It was. We talk a lot about the weed and the view and everything, but I mean overall, just getting out of routine,
Yeah.
like getting out of Missouri, and getting out of this routine of work and everything. Like I'm right back into it now. I'm going back to work, like making money again. Everything's kosher, but that week of just not having to worry about any of those things is great. It's like a healing fucking process.
But you worry about other things too out there. Like you worry about the day to day whenever you're camping. Like,
yeah, but
you know.
but that's really not even a worry though, honestly.
No, it's actually it's a vacation from the shit that you're doing. Every day comes with struggles. There is no day without some kind
I
of
guess what I'm saying
adversity.
is those worries,
You never go a day without adversity.
that adversity or that challenge though
is refreshing.
was yes
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
refreshing
It was
'cause it's a
exciting
different
and
kind of
refreshing and
adversity.
fun
Yeah.
and
that's what adventure is. And any vacation should have a little bit of
But
Yeah.
vacation is going to be different. Whenever you go to vacation in a state like Colorado, minus the weed and all that shit, but just the pure beauty of Colorado and Utah, like that's what you experience and that's what you see and that's what you're able to do each and every single day when you're hiking and you're seeing these views of what Mother Nature has to offer. Like Johnny said, like there's not too much worry other than wildlife or snakes or bears and shit like that. But
even that though, that just comes with the territory. That's
Exactly.
just part of fucking life.
But that's what when I was out there, and granted it was a long time ago, like there are no worries, man. Like it's much needed for the human psyche to enjoy life and experience like that. Could you imagine
go
someone,
back to Mother Nature a little bit.
yeah, could
go
you
back to your roots.
imagine someone who's 60, 70 years old or even 80 who's never done something like that? That is what is crazy.
I was surprised. There were actually a lot of pretty old people out there hiking and stuff. Like I wouldn't say 80. 80 is a little high, but I would say
And
there were
none of them
definitely some,
American,
like,
by the way. None
50
of them
to-
American.
There were a couple, but mostly Asian,
They were
Yeah.
all Swedish, Asian,
German.
Like,
there was a Russian
Do you,
couple.
do you
I-
blame them though? Like it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, no.
Why not?
Well,
man?
it's a huge tourist spot, but it was weird feeling almost like a minority because I'm American and I speak English out at Arches National Park. Like there's so many.
I'd say it was
why
like
aren't more Americans out here enjoying this?
no,
shit?
honestly,
Like,
it was probably like 10%. It was like 10 to 20% Americans, and then like 20% German, 40% Asian, and then another 20% of just random whatever, Hispanic, Russian, just a whole bunch of different shit.
and I think that's that culture that loves hiking, like the Norwegian and the German culture. I think they just really enjoy the fucking outdoors and they just hike like motherfuckers, and that's a classic hiking spot. But
It's because Putin doesn't let them have TV.
could be.
who needs TV when you have Delicate Arch and marijuana?
So, I know we went a little bit into this before, but I'm curious if you guys have heard any of Beto O'Rourke's rhetoric.
Of what?
Beto O'Rourke, he's a Democrat.
I don't think we went into this because I don't recognize
Well,
that
no,
at all.
Just the topic that I'm going to bring up. But
Oh, okay.
he's a Democrat nominee to run for president, and he wants to take the AR-15s, man. He wants to take them. He's came on live television and says, hell yeah, I want to take your AR-15s. He calls them weapons of war, is what he calls them.
Real quick, and this is the last time I'll bring it up.
Sure.
Utah, we went to a grocery store, and right behind the counter, about 3 feet away from the person who was checking me out for my granola bars, was an AR-15.
Not even behind glass.
Not behind glass or anything, just right there.
Just
Easy to sale.
AR-15s.
It costed $1,200. Could have got it.
Dude,
So you had
everyone-
Snickers bars, you had Snicker bars, can't buy liquor, but there's AR-15s all back
yeah.
behind this
From,
bitch.
from what I've gathered, everyone in Utah owns a gun.
And
Yeah.
above that,
Oh, yeah.
there
Yeah,
were the
yeah.
you could buy the extended magazines separately. They were right above the AR-15s.
Yeah.
I saw those.
So you have this presidential nominee who is going around talking about how he says, hell yeah, I'm going to take your AR-15.
Okay, this is a view that I'm pretty sure neither of you are going to like, and a decent amount of our viewers, because we're in Missouri, are not going to like. I still don't really believe Now, you could use an AR-15 for, like, government oppression kind of thing. Go all the way back to, like, 1776 and the whole, like, oh, man, you need to be able to arm yourself in case of government tyranny and all this stuff. But going by that logic, you don't need an AR-15. You need a tank because our government is so powerful now, and AR-15 isn't going to get you anywhere. As for, like, hunting and home defense and stuff, you want home defense, get yourself a shotgun. Get yourself, like, a Remington or something like that, and you're good to go. And a fucking high caliber, like a 45 or something for a handgun. Hunting, get yourself a rifle. It doesn't need to be an AR-15 to go hunting. I'm not, and like I said, people won't like this, but like I don't see it. I'm not saying you should make it illegal. I just want to ask the people who own them, do you own them because you're like, oh, this is my right, blah, blah, blah? Or just admit the fact that you're like, guns are fucking cool. I like guns.
Have you ever shot an AR-15?
I have not.
It's fun. It's exciting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But just tell yourself that you like doing it because it is fun and whatnot. Don't give me the, I need an AR-15 to defend my family. That's bullshit.
Well, I mean, it's not because if you have an AR-15 in your house and defending yourself with that weapon, it's highly.
You can't. It still can't be fully automatic.
I mean, it's true. That's 100% true, but it's still effective.
It's so weird that the AR-15 gets fucking hit so hard because handguns are just as.
And he had said AR-15s and AK-47s. He calls them weapons of war, you know, and he's talking about
anything that's a gun can be a weapon of war.
Right, and he's talking about like ammunition, that can, you know, high velocity ammunition and stuff like that. I think like it's just crazy that a presidential candidate is he's going to run, and if he were to win, he is going to take that away from
I don't think he's
everyone.
going to take that away. I think that's a run. We talked about this before with presidents and what they talk about. We talked about this like 2 podcasts ago about morals.
It's what he's running on, though.
That's my point, though. He's running on that
Specifically what
because
he's
it's an
running on.
emotional fucking response
For sure.
that triggers people to vote for him or vote against him or whatever.
But
It's nothing that's going to...
I think like recently, like with Obama and Trump, like the things that they run on, they actually try and make happen. So if he were actually to get in and be the president, he would actually try and make legislation, and they already have legislation to where they're wanting to make it. I don't know where this congressperson was from, and it's from a separate state, but they're trying to pass a bill in the House that actually you would have to have a federal ID to even buy a gun, no matter what kind of gun.
A federal ID?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
You would just have to have a specific ID. And you would have to have that ID before.
But anybody can get the ID.
Correct, but there are loops and holes. I mean, not loops and holes, but there's a process.
Regulations.
Exactly.
And,
It's
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
100%, man.
I do.
I don't.
Absolutely. You can't disarm the people that supposedly run the government. That if it's a government for the people by the people, you can't disarm them and then have the army like you need that balance.
We're already okay, but we're
need
already
that
there.
balance.
You can't own a tank. You are not
Okay.
going to stop.
Okay.
You are not going to stop a tyranny fucking government regime with your fucking AR-15 and your handguns and shit. We've already lost that.
There's like
So
there's like
what would
50
happen if an opposing government comes in and then starts? I guarantee you this: if Russia started invading America, all this gun law bullshit would go away, and they would
Oh,
want
yeah, you're
everybody to fucking be armed. They would immediately be telling every U.S. citizen, go out. They'd let felons have fucking guns. They'd be like, you kill the Russians or the fucking whoever's invading. Like they'd be like, everybody gets guns now because we need the militia, old school. It'd be patriot shit to go and fucking fight for your country because of this invading army. But all of a sudden they want to take away guns. They want to take away guns right now because of the all of these mass shootings. Which guns are not the problems of these mass shootings. It's evil people.
True.
Evil people find ways to do their evil deeds with or without guns, whether or not they go and get it through the black market.
And I think that's
evil,
the biggest.
But you cannot disarm the people and not allow them with the same shit. When I'm saying it's all like based upon some shit. Whenever, like I said, if a fucking another country would start coming in, they'd be like, rise up, Raymore, rise up, Belton. Anybody with a gun, come and show up. If you see these individuals, you need to take them out. They would want people to be armed then. Why are they not wanting us to be armed right now then? I don't know. That's some conspiracy theory thing. I think it's wrong to take away these things when the actual problem is just evil people, and there's no way to keep evil people from doing evil things, and that's
And
what you end up doing is more harm than good.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're right.
100%.
You're right. There's no way to keep evil people from doing evil things. I agree with you 100%.
So don't take away the rights of
but
good
there's
people.
There's a direct
Don't
correlation.
take away the rights of good people
We have
to try to stop evil
we have
people.
more mass shootings than any other country in the world. We also have more firearms owned per household than any other country in the world.
Yeah, it's fucking America.
yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying those fucking correlate. We have more shootings than any other country. We also have more firearms per household than any other country.
Also, we have like some of the lowest educational standards also
very
throughout
true.
the
You're not
fucking
wrong.
world
You're
too.
not wrong.
You don't think those two things fucking correlate?
No, there's a whole bunch there.
Like,
There's a whole
there's
bunch there.
so
that go
much
together.
more underlying than guns themselves is all I'm saying. But you can't just go and take away this bullshit top layer that everybody sees and that all the media wants you to fucking see is that, oh, guns are the fucking problem. Because guns have never been the fucking problem. Ever. It's everything that's underlying it as far as the societal, economic fucking issues that we've been having. But they want to just blame it on something simple, like fucking guns, and they try to take it away, when that's actually more evil in doing so, in my opinion, than actually solving the fucking problem. It's just like creating another law. Oh, we don't know the answer to this fucking problem, and we don't want to work too hard on it, and because it would actually help benefit other people outside of myself and all this, so we're just going to make fucking some guns illegal, and that'll help fucking solve it all. No, it's bullshit. That is all fucking bullshit. That's not where the actual issue is.
Well,
Get
and-
down to the fucking issue of it.
Yes.
Let's actually fucking address it. Nobody
They're not gonna.
does,
They're not
though.
gonna do
Nobody
that though.
does.
You're not gonna fix the education system. You're not gonna fix any of that kind of shit.
It's very true, but whenever they get one step forward on us and they're able to take away the AR-15s or the AK-47s that are semi-automatic, when they're able to do that first step, what
They got to fight Texas, man.
but that's the thing. But
They got to go against Texas at that point.
That's
good
fine.
luck. Texas could take on
what
the
I-
rest of the United States, man.
What I'm saying is, once they get that, and once they have that, and they get those guns away, which no one can own those anymore.
And let me
What-
refer. Like, I'm not for.
I know you're not. I know
Like
you're not.
taking away people's guns.
Right.
I am for. There needs to be a. It's hard. It's very much a gray area. It's a catch-22. We talked about this with. This is super random, but we talked about it with the whole rape and abortion and all this stuff. It's a super fucking gray area because I am not for taking away people's guns. I'm not for restricting people's access to guns, really, because it's your right. If you want to be able to buy a firearm, you should be able to buy a firearm. But at the same time, I personally know people that should never own a firearm. It would be harmful to them and harmful to people around them for them to own a gun.
But
I know that.
That's you making that judgment. And you know for 100% fact that you are correct on that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying
It's a
is,
serious statement, man, to have a full evaluation of somebody.
I mean, from things that they have told me about themselves, yes.
but regardless of no matter what law that we make, if that person who you don't think should own a firearm, if they wanted to get a firearm, they truly would find a way to get it and do exactly what they want to do. I mean,
You're talking about killers and stuff. I'm talking
Is it
about
to the point to where you should report that person and be like, man, he's in danger to himself or other people? Because you should report that person, by the way.
Well,
If
now,
you
and now you can do that with red flag laws. You can do that.
which
And
that's
and
kind
that
of
can also cause some
that
fucking
can cause-
issues too.
and it already
And
has
once
caused
again,
issues.
there is no 100% right or wrong to anything. With anything comes a consequence. There's always an innocent bystander that gets fucking ran over by new shit coming in. But I mean, if you honestly fucking think that, then
I'm just
you
saying
know?
you have someone who is like and this is not like one of the people I'm talking about. This is just making stuff up at this point. This isn't the same thing I was talking about earlier when I said I know someone. This is just making something up.
metaphorical.
Yes, exactly.
You're
Thank
going
you.
metaphorical here.
But like you have a highly functioning autistic person who can function in everyday society who also talks about wanting to kill himself all the time. Should he own a gun?
I mean, if he wants to own a gun, then yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
But the thing is, if you have an armed society and everyone's equipped and ready to go, then no matter what situation you're in, yeah, someone might get hurt or harmed, but that happens in our everyday life. So why not be ready for a situation like that and be armed yourself? 'Cause
I
if
mean,
it-
I get it. Like I said, I'm not for taking away people's guns. I'm just saying
For
it's
sure.
a grayer area than...
I think
I feel like there's too much black and white there. I feel like there are too many people saying ban all the fucking guns.
no, there's
And I feel like they're on the same side. I feel like there's way too many people who are like, fuck yeah, America, guns.
but no,
Like, don't get me wrong, I love America, but you have to see that there are issues there too.
there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk, and I think that
Once again, with anything,
but
there's
hold on, I think that there's an actual answer and explanation for what we're talking about right now, and it's if everyone, when you go to school and you learn shit, I think that owning a weapon and knowing how to operate a weapon is very necessary to live in our society. And if everyone, and I'm not calling for everyone owns a gun and shit like that, but if everyone had a gun, then I think that a lot of these mass shootings wouldn't happen, because a lot of these mass shootings happen in a gun-free zone. Just statistically, they happen in gun-free zones, you know? And you would never want to be that person who is involved with a mass shooting and not have a weapon, because what are you going to think in that moment whenever there are mass shootings happening wherever, whether it be a school or Walmart or a mall?
There shouldn't be guns in schools, so I disagree with that personally.
No,
I don't think
I know that.
I understand why there shouldn't be guns. I'm not for teachers having guns and shit.
and I
That
ne-
doesn't make any
I ne-
sense to me.
I
That
never-
should just be a place of learning.
But-
And
but
nobody should have to have a fucking gun on them
But
in school.
But unfortunately, desperate times call for desperate measures, and we are in a society where guns are allowed, and we have to, and that's where majority of the mass shootings happen. So how do you fix that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know there's not an
Better
easy-
education system. Teach your
For
kids
sure.
correctly. Get rid of. You can't get rid of bullying, obviously, but I don't know. There's just
What I'm saying is, like, everyone needs to be trained and equipped on know how to handle these weapons.
I think it's a culture and an education problem
Yeah, it for sure
more than a
is.
gun problem.
It for sure is. Yeah.
Dude, they would teach gun safety and how to work a gun in school if we were being invaded by another country.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That would
Yeah.
immediately come up, and that's it's so teetering on.
And it probably should be taught.
Just
You have
scenario
Some
shit.
schools have like
Scenario.
archery class.
Yeah.
You should have shooting class.
Dude, when my daughter's old enough to,
When you're a senior and you're 18 and stuff, you should definitely have a shooting class.
yeah, 100%.
Why not?
Yeah, 100%, man. More people that are aware of how they work and what they
Gun
do.
safety and all that. Or
Yeah. And the only way you have to take gun safety is for a hunter safety course, you know, and you get that license and you go hunt and do whatever you need to do. It's an 8 or 12-hour course. You do
I'm just
it
saying, make
throughout
it
the
part of
day.
your senior year when you're 18. Have them go out there and
What
shoot
about-
trap or shoot skeet or do something.
Wait,
Yeah.
well, what about you cannot own a firearm up until the age of 21 unless you're under parental supervision and a parent signs off for a gun? Because you can go and buy like a 22 at the age of 18.
18.
Yeah, rifle or a shotgun.
Should you
cannot buy
maybe
handgun.
have a little higher restrictions here and there?
No, because you
I'm
can
not to say.
because you can be drafted. You can join the military
Yeah,
at 18.
very
But that's a
true.
different scenario. Now the government's your parent. Now the government's your parent, right? I don't know. No, there could be a little bit more restrictions here or there, but that's neither here nor there than the actual what the media is fucking showing to us.
Yeah, fuck the media, man.
That's making guns seem evil when it's actually just there are fucking shitty people out in the world, and not disarming 99% of people to think that you're preventing the 1% that would do evil with it, that they're gonna all of a sudden not do evil shit. Because guess what? They will make a bomb. They'll make a bomb. They'll figure if people want to do evil shit, we'll do evil shit, regardless of whether or not guns are legal or illegal. The evil in it, in my mind, is you're disarming fucking the 99.9% of fucking individuals who use it for recreation or even defense, or even if some shit fucking went down, the future is completely unknown. Fucking country could get fucking raided, fucking whatever. All of a sudden, government overthrow fucking happens. You need to go against the government. Whatever. You should have that fucking ability. You can't fuck the 99.9% over because the 1/10 of fucking people are fucking evil, and then say that this is for the betterment of fucking good. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. It makes no sense.
Zero.
You need to look at the actual problem of the 1/10 percentile, whatever, of evil fucking people, and be like, how do we actually maybe put them in a better scenario, maybe a better fucking environment, maybe we fucking do some shit
Well,
in a different way that's actually on a social level, because all these problems are social, not guns. We're talking about social fucking problems right now. Maybe we do a better fucking job of that shit,
And that's
and
but
have a
that's
better
what we've said-
environment for fucking
That's
kids.
what we've said a million times, though. Is it's
coming through.
education,
And I know,
cultural,
and I know.
social issues.
That's what it all comes fucking down to for me.
So
all
ma-
the time. So it's
so-
not fucking guns.
And maybe that's what they need to do, but I think what that gets passed upon the most is actual stories of people who protect themselves when they are in a situation when they need to use their firearm. I mean, it's over the millions.
No, because
Oh, you don't ever see that on the media
because
that doesn't
the
sell.
Evil stories are the ones that get sold, man.
Right.
You never hear about the good cop, right? The good cop that comes in and like uncovers the scandal of police brutality, and they not ratted, but told their story and got fired over it, and they lost their fucking career because they were doing the right moral thing to expose some inner corruption in a police department. You never hear about those
Because
people.
it doesn't sell. It's
All
not.
you hear about is the fucking the shitty cop that fucking was racist and killed one person. But there's so many police officers that that are actually moral and trying really fucking hard to make the world a better place. You don't hear stories about them.
So
All you hear about is shitty cops on the fucking news.
And leading into what you just said, I think it's very interesting. There's someone who was within the Mueller report with all this Trump shit that's going on, Gundowski or something like that, like Trey Lewandowski.
I have no idea.
Well, it's this guy, and he was. I don't know how he was involved. I'd have to do more research and shit like that. But he was on CNN, he was on Fox, he was on MSNBC, and they would interview him about the Mueller report that was going on and shit like that. Well, there were certain things that he had said to when he was live on these television shows. And then he got grilled by Congress or whoever, the special counsel and shit like that. And they're like, well, we're going to bring this up. And you said this on national television when you were talking to CNN. And he's like, you know what? He's like, CNN isn't very truthful. So I didn't feel the need to speak truth while he was giving an interview to CNN. So basically now you have people who are involved within the government who can actually come on live television on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and they are not held accountable for what they say. They
never have been.
I know, but I think it's
the
just,
president's not held accountable during the
that's
election
been going
process.
on for 100 years.
No,
man.
I know that,
if not the beginning of time.
But now it's now the light has shed because now you have someone who's involved, and it's such a big report.
Yeah, you're right. The light has been shed on it, or whatever. People can now see that for themselves. But if you didn't already see that, you're an idiot.
Right.
I'm not saying you, Paul.
No,
I mean,
I'm not. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
instance.
no. Like if you didn't know that people fucking lie, you're dumb.
So anyone who watches CNN or Fox or MSNBC,
and if you thought the news was real news and not just entertainment, they're there to sell you. That's why there's ads. That's why there's ads for the news. You're watching the football game and they're like, tonight at 9, we're going to talk about that. That's not. It's not news that affects you in any way, shape, or form 90% of the time. It's just entertainment value.
100%, man. It's crazy that all this is happening and we live in that sort of environment. An environment where, it's just all about control. And again, what we said earlier in the podcast, it all comes down to just structure and education. And those are things that we're not willing to change. State, and if it happens at the state level, maybe that's who we need to get involved with is people who are in charge of our education system and talking with them, which is the government.
No, but every time they try to change the education system for the better in some way, shape, or form, some small amount, you have the older generation saying, no, that's not what I learned. We talked about this when I talked about Common Core math. I'm not going to go into detail with that again.
For sure.
But it's a way better way to teach math to where kids actually understand what fucking math is and what numbers mean and so on and so forth. And all the older generation was like, I can't help my kid with my homework because I'm dumb and I learned it a different way and I can't do it this way. This is bullshit and it doesn't make any sense. That's not my fucking problem. If we're changing the education for the system for the better, let it change for the better. But every time we do something like that, it goes right back to how it's always been because people don't like fucking change.
And that's the craziest part is that people who are running for president are campaigning on, gun control or helping out the middle class or doing all this and making college free and socialism and all this shit when truly all we need is just a better education system. From obviously from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Yeah.
It needs to be reformed. That should be whoever's running for president, they need to do reform on education because, man, this earth could be...
Bush tried that shit, and it made it so much worse.
Bush didn't. Oh, yeah. He did the
It was called No Child Left Behind, man.
For sure.
That's in the wrong direction, though. That's
absolutely the wrong... That was the last time we had real education reform in this country, and it took us in the opposite direction.
You're literally saying, oh, everybody gets to pass. Participation trophies for everyone, and... You just got to learn the bare... that's literally in the opposite direction of what we should be going. Make people learn something.
I'm talking about a complete overhaul of our education system.
That was an overhaul, but I get...
Yeah, we were involved in the No Child Left Behind.
Think about a system that we've been
overhaul.
using for so fucking long. If you haven't written some new shit by now, a new way of fucking thinking and learning after all of the technology that we have, all of the studies... all of the way we understand how personalities react differently to different things and people's strengths and weaknesses and not everybody's the fucking same. We're still using the same fucking style of education. It blows my fucking mind. We are so far behind in that fucking category.
We have tried changing it several times. Like I said, there was the Common Core math thing. There was also... Did you guys... Some schools did this. The school I went to when I was in 5th and 6th grade did this. And I've heard other people that they've had this happen before too. Did you have, around 5th and 6th grade, 4th, 5th, 6th, did you have a class where they separated you based on like your intelligence and how you learned and stuff?
That happens already because it's called AP. You have.
I'm not
advanced
talking about
placement
that though.
classes.
So
But that's what that is.
It was more so than that though. You literally had, and it wasn't just this school because I've talked to people who've had this before. Ours was stupid. They made up names. It was like hurricanes, cyclones, twisters, and tornadoes. But you basically had tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And you would literally you would only be in the classroom. Like if you were in math class, you were in math class with all the other tier 3s. And your curriculum was set up differently for the tier 3s. Then you would move out of that class and the tier 2s would go to math class while you were in history. The tier 2s would have a different way of learning that information because they were either smarter or not as smart kind of thing based on all these different tests and stuff. They did that in several schools and whatnot. And what happened is parents got mad because there was bullying taking place about, people in different tiers and stuff on both ends. Like, oh, you're a nerd because you're super smart, or the opposite. Oh, what a fucking idiot because you're not smart. So there was bullying and all that, and they got rid of it. But it was helping people actually learn appropriate to how they learn.
Yeah.
But we got rid of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because people get all caught up in their emotions.
You would have the tier 4s. You wouldn't do the whole, hey, show your work, progress, and stuff, because we know you can do that part in your head. We're going to move on to some more advanced stuff, so on and so forth. And the tier 1s, it would be very basic, like, let's get through this kind of thing.
So it created a tribalism fucking mentality, which created separation within a close community, which created warfare.
But everybody was actually learning way more effectively.
Mike Anderson.
It doesn't always have to end up in that aspect. I think it's a good idea to do something like that. I mean, like, you're hindering people in their progression as a human being, especially when you're that young and you're able to learn at a high level. Why not let that continue?
What
Was
you're
it Einstein who
hold
said
on.
if you judge...
That's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is the schooling system. Let's say the schooling system is like trees, and you got to fucking climb trees. Well, some kids are like bears and monkeys.
That's what I was just going into with
They climb
Einstein.
trees really well, but some kids are fish. They don't climb trees, but they swim really fucking well. But you don't. There's no fucking.
You can't
the
judge
system-
a fish on its ability to climb a
But
tree.
if the system is fucking trees and you have a fucking fish, that fish is going to look like a fucking idiot, right? But that's actually not their skill set, not their talent, not the way
For
their
sure.
mind works.
For sure.
So you need different environments for different, because
100%.
on a personality level is so different with everybody else. I did not do well in school.
Same.
I was awful at fucking school. I fucking hated it. I hated fucking homework, all these things. There were some classes that I really excelled in, like science and history. I was really big in. I actually, in a final, in a class that I fucking failed, got the second highest grade out of, and they literally accused me of fucking cheating. And I'm like, no, I just really enjoyed fucking my fucking teacher, and I liked the shit. I just didn't do the homework. I didn't do any of the work. But when I came to the final, of as far as comprehension of what happened in that class, I was like, yeah, I fucking know all this shit. I love the Civil War. I love learning about this shit. Fucking killed it. They were like, no, you fucking cheated. I'm like, man, I'm still failing the fucking class. Like, I'm just telling you what I fucking know at the end of it. Like, and I'm horrible at writing, horrible at grammar. I have horrible handwriting. It's not my skill set. You know, I read very well, but I can't spell worth a shit. Like, not worth a fucking shit. I cannot spell. I have trouble with shit. If you were to see me try to spell, you might think I'd be like a fucking third grader.
I mean,
Like,
you
literally.
asked me to spell stuff for you.
Dude,
a lot.
that's just
I'm right there
how
with
my
you, man.
fucking, and I don't think I'm an idiot. Like, I'm probably in the general, like overview of everything, I'm probably a fucking idiot, to everything. But when it comes to spelling, I am a super fucking idiot. Like, I understand that.
What about it though?
It just doesn't work in my head.
For sure. And
I can.
you're right that we need to focus on what people are good at as opposed. So
It's just not what I'm good at.
But some people in a school set are good at excelling in school and learning more and more shit. But yes, you're right. I don't know if we should make trade schools
What I was saying
lower
was
level,
they could
but
potentially. It's too late. It's too late for you now, Jesse. You're fucked. No, it's too late now. But back when you were in 5th, 6th grade or whatever, you could have learned to spell better. But the way they were teaching you spelling and vocab and all this was not in your skill set to learn. But if you were in a different tier where they refined it more and it was specifically built for other people like you who are just atrocious for spelling for whatever reason,
and they made a different connection in my mind.
a different kind of
and it might actually be
curriculum,
able to
a
work.
different kind of teaching, like you had that one class that you said, oh, I didn't do any of the homework, but I aced it because I really liked the teacher and the way that they taught and so on and so forth. If they refine that kind of stuff, which they have tried doing before, and people are like, nope, we don't like change, don't like my kids being separate from other kids, I don't like Common Core math because I don't know how to do it, and I don't like this and that, it's ridiculous. Like, stuff has to change.
It does, yeah, 100%. And it can't be status quo forever, especially when it comes to education, because we all, I mean, like you said, with technology and shit like
Not
that. Not
everybody's the same.
They're not. And even in that situation, if Jesse was in that situation and they couldn't find, and I'm the same way, man, I can't spell worth shit either. But even if Jesse and I weren't able to ever grasp that situation, even if we were in the lowest tier, move us on to something that we are good at. Move us on to how we can be productive.
I definitely within the school system that I was in, and I was even homeschooled for 2 years. I was even homeschooled, which is actually very, very beneficial to me. But my mom couldn't fucking do it anymore. I really got a lot out of that, and I learned a lot. My mom just couldn't fucking handle me. I was awful to that fucking poor woman during that whole fucking process of me being homeschooled. And I went to also a supplemental school to get the social aspect out of it once a week called Good Shepherd Academy. It was twice a week.
Sounds like
it was
Christian
in Raytown.
school.
It was super Christian. But no, but what I felt like I was in, and the best example is I was a fish, and they were trying to have me climb a goddamn tree when I'm swimming. I'm more creative. I love art. I love science. I love even history. But whenever it comes to the grammar portion of writing, or just all the other things that were involved, like I just wasn't good at it, so I just fucking gave up. I'm like, why the fuck, like I'm just not good at it, but you're forcing me to fucking be good at it, and it's so like downgrading to you to fucking feel like, oh man, it doesn't make sense to me. And then you just give up, and once you give up on a little bit of school, you end up giving up in a lot of fucking school, to where you're just like, you know what, bitches are way more important than whatever you're trying to fucking teach right now. And this girl's thong that's hanging out right in front of me in fucking math class, and I'm awful at math.
Sitting there in Spanish class, and it's like,
math is another thing I'm horrible at. I literally remember just like staring at a thong basically, like for a whole semester, and just effed that fucking class. Like I didn't give a shit. Like I might have just like wrote X's through the fucking paper and be like, man, it's this fucking girl in front of me's fucking fault. I can't stare at a goddamn thong all fucking class, and you expect me to, know algebra. Like that's not my penis is much more influential on where my fucking mind's going right now.
Especially at that age, man. Like they're going about it the wrong way, and again we've talked about it multiple times, but I think tonight just like maybe trying to think of a solution on what they should do for the education system, as opposed to just saying, hey, our education system is fucked.
People learn differently.
Exactly. So how do we implement that?
You said you're bad at grammar, and I'm sure that by grammar you mean like you're bad at punctuation, all that. Like you don't know when you're supposed to use a semicolon or a comma or whatever. But if they would have taught it, because they teach it in a shitty way. They talk about, you need the subject.
Dry.
You need the subject in the sentence, and then an adjective and whatever, and then you can use a comma. If they would have taught it in a simpler way, like, hey, this is how you read, and make it like an emotional connection or something, like when someone's an emotional and there's a pause.
Talk about the woman in the thong that you stared at for so long, and explain how a period works in that sentence.
That's true, but you also don't get that quality teaching level too. Like if you were to go to a private school with a really, really fucking good teacher, you don't get that shit in public school. Like
You should.
Ray Peck was a decent school. Ray Peck was a fucking decent school, but did not have all of the facets when it came to teaching to fulfill my needs as a student to progress.
And there was how many people in your class, though?
I couldn't fucking tell you.
300-400 people?
I don't
500.
know.
So how do you connect to 500 different kids that are in one class?
You're giving an example,
tough. It's tough.
Exactly.
It's tough. And I think that we need to do a better job as, if it's state by state when it's ran by education, we need to do a better job on finding out how to reach out to all 500 people that are in that one class in every county that's in Missouri. Like, that's just end of conversation.
And I also think, not to talk shit on my parents, because I have great parents, but my parents, me being the sixth child that they had, didn't give a shit so much about my education, and they just wanted to make sure that I got through it, even though I didn't even graduate. I ended up dropping out and getting my GED. But I think that they were just so worn out. I think a lot of it can come down to the parents, too, of tracking progress of their kids. Like kids, it should also be... Like, the education should also be on the parents, is what I'm saying, too. It should be this...
But we live in
the synergistic...
I think they should make
between the schooling system and the curriculum, and then the parents telling the kid, hey, what did you learn today? Because I want to know what you learned today, and then let me tell you, because you're their fucking parent, you should also be able to step in and be like, okay, How did you learn this? What is it? And maybe you can step in. Like, I'm sorry, if my kids learn about 9/11 from school and they project it this certain way, I'm going to be like, well, this is actually how I view it. Like, this is what school is telling you about it. Now, let me, and I think, so I think it's important as a parent, too, to be able to come in and step in certain places and be involved with the kids' education, which I think was lackluster
problem is
for
sometimes
me growing up with my parents. Even though I'm not talking shit on my parents because I love my parents. I think my parents are just really worn out because they had 6 fucking kids and I was the 6th one. And at that point, they're just like, Jesus Christ.
So at that
the problem
point,
is
we're
sometimes
just trying to
education,
fucking
sometimes
live
the
life
education is so bad though that like if I were to go home and my parents were to ask me like, hey, what'd you learn today? I'd be like, absolutely fucking nothing. Because that's how bad the school system was. I learned absolutely fucking nothing today.
Right. And even then, I think it should just be an impact on the individual. And I know it's hard to do that with anyone from the ages of 5 to 18, but I think the least amount. Okay. And in saying this and thinking about it, it's probably not the right way to say it. Because of what we're dealt with, like you just said, if they were said one thing about 9/11 and that's truth, and what I'm saying now is incorrect. But I think the least amount that you get the parents involved and are able to connect with the child and teach them the right things, the better, because then you have that parent come in.
And be supportive when it comes to like, oh, you have trouble in math. Well, at least be supportive and be, a little bit more involved. My parents were not involved within my education.
And there's no way that they
at
could
all.
be, and they couldn't come up with a conspiracy theory about math. You know what I'm saying? Except saying, oh, that's
Well, I'm not even saying that,
fuckery.
but if they were to just sit down, like, I don't know.
You were the 6th kid. Your parents were busy as fuck.
No, they were, and I'm not mad at them. My parents were great parents.
But what I'm saying,
nobody gets.
So what I'm
I mean,
saying,
how many kids are so privileged to where their parents are
Yeah.
super involved, sit down with them every night,
Right.
has a great meal with them, and then goes and helps them out with their
We didn't
homework.
have family
and,
dinners.
and out of however
I
many,
mean, it happens, but I mean that's ideal. But I realize it's not realistic for
Dude,
the overall population. But I'm saying
my parents
could be more involved
they should, yeah.
within the educational process, especially when it comes to historical kind of shit.
But then they're also putting in their opinion in and shit like that, which changes the mindset of the child. What I'm saying is my parents weren't involved either. But I think, educational purpose-wise, if it was a better education system and things were not set in stone, but if it was just more structured and they were able to teach kids the right things, it wouldn't be necessary for parents to be involved.
I feel like it's always necessary for parents to be involved in the.
I'm going to be super biased. Like, let's say I have a son, right? And he goes to a weightlifting class. And then I'm like, oh, you lifting weights, motherfucker? Let's go hit the fucking gym, which I'll already probably be working out with him at that point. But I'll hear some shit that his fucking coach is going to say, and I'm going to be like, no, that guy's a fucking dumbass. You need to do it this way because that's the way that I fucking know it. Now, whether or not I'm right or wrong, I couldn't tell you. But I guarantee you, whenever it comes to, if he learns some shit about lifting and then he comes to me with it, I'm going to have a definite fucking opinion about it. And I'm going to be like, oh, well, it's actually, no, you need, this is actually how you bench press. I didn't like the way that he's, he taught you here. This isn't in every, so that's just an example. I'm going to have bias.
That can be good and bad though.
No, it can be
Yeah.
bad. It can be bad because
'Cause
I could be wrong.
I
I
think-
could be
no,
wrong.
you could literally like the math thing where kids were coming back with different homework that their parents had never seen before.
Right.
That was teaching them the correct way to do math and understanding numbers and stuff. And parents were like, I can't help you with this. I didn't learn like this. Do it this way. That's wrong. Blah, blah, blah. That causes issues.
No, you're right. You're right.
And what I'm saying is just putting a student in the best position possible. You know what I'm saying? Do that and try that. And everyone learns differently. So, I know it's tough. It's extremely tough to relate to 500
We need some
people in
education
class.
reform. And
Yeah.
not like George Bush backwards ass education reform where it's just like everybody gets a participation
every
trophy.
kid.
Everybody gets to graduate. We don't like
'Cause that's
kids
not-
being we don't like kids being bullied, so you get to pass no matter what and move on with your grade. Like no.
That was such a great example of politics solving a problem without solving a problem at
Yeah.
all. They literally were like, hey, there's a problem here. People are, we're scoring really low right now as a nation. So you know what we're going to do?
Everybody passes.
We're going to drop the scoring level to where everybody passes so
That's
everybody
terrible.
looks smart.
That's terrible.
It is classic fucking
Politics.
political answer to a problem without solving a problem,
I like-
and actually ends up making things a lot worse.
I like the tier system because I think you're able to figure out who
I
are the
specifically
highest.
the
yeah.
fact that I can specifically remember that in 5th and 6th grade, it makes a difference.
You know,
And
but
you
I
can-
think there are ways
there's
around.
not infinite amounts of personalities, by the way. There is very, I mean, psychologists have gone over this quite a bit. Like you can fit people into personality tiers, and then once you find the best tier for yourself, and then you associate that with this is how you retain information the best, and then get put into that tier. So fuck just going to a school. Go to a school with everybody around you that learns the same way.
Exactly.
That literally goes through the same mental process of how you retain information and how you experience information, and then how you relay that information back to people. That sounds genius.
I think
Even though there should be a mix and a dynamic of individuals
No,
too,
but
for
you can
social
still
for a
people
social
learn different.
purpose.
We talked about this the other day with memory when we were watching that show. I remember things by looking at them or writing them down. Like if I look at a list of something and I'm like, hey, like a shopping list, I'm like, hey, I need these things. I don't need to take the list with me. I just need to look at it or write down the list myself once, and I got it. But other people remember differently. They tell themselves like a story or whatever, make an emotional connection to each item or whatnot, so on and so forth. There's people. This
Bro,
is a
it's
terrible
like-
example.
it's like fucking
people
Harry Potter.
learn different fucking ways.
Dude, it's like fucking Harry Potter. Whenever you go to fucking Hogwarts, man, you're either Gryffindor, fucking Slytherin, Hufflepuff. What's the fourth one?
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw. Dude, they even knew.
do I know that?
Dude, that was the learning separation of, man, you actually fit in here personality-wise the best for your own educational purposes that fit your personality. J.K. Rowling fucking had it right, man.
I think that
She should overhaul the whole education system.
Turn America into Hogwarts.
The next presidential candidate, I want to hear his platform on J.K. Rowling is going to reform education in America.
And
the
they just
sort-
call it
and the-
Platform
but-
9 3/4.
But the sorting hat is going to be AI. Okay, I'm getting way too in depth. with
I
it.
don't, and I'll leave it at this. And this is kind of my last thought on it. I think being a kid is very important, and enjoying your childhood is very and extremely important. You know, being young is very innocent, and looking back on how I lived as a child, I wouldn't take it back for anything. But the education system does need to be reformed. You're 100% correct. Imagine if, like, I had a teacher in 6th grade, and he eventually got fired for some reason. I don't know why. But he taught me a little bit about stocks, you know? Imagine at 6th grade if you learned about stocks and banking and shit like that, where you would be today as a person if you knew how the financial game actually worked. You know
Man,
what
if
I'm
I would
saying?
have started
That
investing,
should be-
if I would have started
That should
investing
be
at
just
18,
classic basic shit I think
what-
should be put
what-
in fucking high school
but-
is how to financially make yourself
What-
well.
No. I'm not even trying to go down that road. What I'm saying is I think that they need to give, and like I said, it's tough because you need to enjoy childhood. But at the same time, I think that they need to give us more decision-making skills when we're younger in order to be a better person later on in life.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's a literal formula to win at this game called capitalism. There is. It's called spend less than what you make. Nobody has ever taught this in high school.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll leave it at that, man.
Who the fuck ever?
We're at it.
Who ever sat down with you in high school that said, "Hey, whatever you make in life, I don't care if you're
Dude.
working at a gas station, make it out to where."
They're telling you to spend money in high school, man. I was my senior
all
year.
they-
My
you're
senior
right.
dude, my senior year, I was negative $200 in debt on my school lunches. Because they can't refuse you school lunch. I went in debt though. I still owe Belton High
Nice.
School $200 for lunch money.
nice.
I never got my diploma. I still don't have it to this day because I owe them lunch money.
Fuck that shit.
I know, right? Well, we'll leave it at that, man. We'll leave it at that. We're at an hour and 2 minutes. Johnny and Jesse back in the house. Trey chilling on the couch like a
Trey,
pimp.
baby.
Fresh out of Colorado, I'm rocking the shirt still.
Yeah, so anyone who listened to the entirety of this podcast for an hour and 3 minutes, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, hit the like button to all our junkies out there.
Stay fly and ring the bell.